So the player that I highlight in my intro is about to make a lot of money. Do not let my dog deceive you with his food dish over there. I already fed him, and he's just being a diva. Hey guys, what's up? Hope everybody's had a good day. So I just wanted to have a little bit of an informal video here just to talk about some of the pending UFAs we have, like Jordo, Stastny, Stepp, and more importantly, talk about some of the long-term pieces that could be staying and what their contracts might look like. So the big topic today will be Sebastian Aho's contract, which Tom Dundon has already stated that it's a top priority, and those are his exact words, and that it's basically his team now, which indicates to me that they're looking at him becoming the captain this season, if not sometime in the near future. So that's one thing to look out for. But first, we're going to talk about the UFAs we have this season, and then we'll get into the ones for next season that look like they could be long-term pieces. So first things first, the Hurricanes cannot keep all these players. There's absolutely no way that they're going to fit everybody underneath the salary cap. So what you have to look at here is, as aforementioned, their priority number one is to get Sebastian Aho re-signed, and then a lot of these other contracts are going to start falling into place. So we're going to start off with the defensemen Calvin DeHaan and Shane Gostisbehere. So in my opinion, Ghost is about to float off and go elsewhere, just out of the simple fact that I think that Carolina was in fact using him for a pure rental. He's rejuvenated his career between Arizona and Carolina, so I think that he's probably going to take his talents elsewhere. For Carolina, he injected some life into the power play, and he added more and more scoring to a blue line that was already doing a ton of scoring. And potentially, you could say Carolina might have had the best defense in the league this season and can do so in perpetuity. More than anything, Ghost has earned a raise, and unfortunately, Carolina's not going to be the team that gives it to him. In the event that you do see Ghost re-sign, that means that any combination of Skjei or Pesce are going to be gone, but I don't see that happening. I also don't see Chatfield leaving, but I'll get to that. Calvin DeHaan I would like to see stick around to be the seventh defenseman and fill basically the same role he was in the latter part of the season after the trade deadline. I think that, you could pay him league minimum and keep him in a serviceable role just in case, you're going to have injuries during the season and everything like that, and Calvin DeHaan is a serviceable guy to step in on the bottom pair if needed. So now getting into the forwards, we have Jesper Fast, Jordan Staal, Paul Stastny, and Derek Stepan. First, we have to consider Stastny has not said anything to indicate whether he's going to even keep playing or not. He's 37. He said he wanted to take some time after the season was over to consider whether he wanted to keep playing or not, or if he wanted to go ahead and ride off into the sunset. Would like to see Derek Stepan come back to be the extra forward. If you can put him on another league minimum deal, he might need a PTO again like he did last season, and you could have him be the spare forward if you need him. He's still got a lot of experience. He's really good in face-offs. He's defensively sound. He'll do the job in the event that you need to plug someone into the bottom six, and you would have him for cheap, so I would recommend keeping him, especially if Stastny either retires or signs elsewhere. Jordan Staal has stated that he plans on being back. I think he'll sign some team-friendly deal of some sort. I would imagine for maybe $1 million, $1.5 million. Everybody already knows what Jordo brings to the table for the team. He's been doing it for a very long time. So I think that he'll, in a way, still have some de facto captaincy, de facto leadership, and it'll be great to have him around if Aho does actually take the reins, so that way he can have someone to lean on, because captaining a hockey team is tough. I know Jesper Fast is from Sweden, but I think of him as a Swiss Army knife. He's one of those forwards that, you can kind of slot him in anywhere, and he can do a little bit of everything. We saw how well he performed in the playoffs, having the 2 overtime winning goals. He's an incredibly good skater, and he's like I said, he's one of those guys you can just kind of plug him in the lineup, and I think it would be great to extend him and keep him in our forward core. So there's 2 pending RFAs right now. There's Dylan Coghlan, who was acquired in the Max Pacioretty trade for the greatest Hurricane of all time, future considerations. I hope he's doing well in Vegas. He might be getting him a cup here in a little bit. But I would say Dylan Coughlin is not going to really fit that well in our system. He's definitely a puck-moving type of guy. He's definitely one of those more offensively minded defensemen, and if you ship him off to a team where you've got a safety valve type of player like what we have in Slavin and Pesce, he could probably thrive there. But as far as fitting in on the defensive depth chart in Carolina, I don't really see a long-term fit for him. Bison King, Jesse Puljujärvi. I feel so bad for this guy because he's playing his heart out every night and he's not really getting rewarded offensively. But he's starting to throw his weight around a little bit and use his physicality. He's starting to hit people. And both of those aforementioned RFAs are arbitration eligible, so we'll have to see if that factors into it at all. So the goaltending situation I feel like is actually kind of unpredictable. The only constant right now is Kochekov, and I don't know if he's going to end up being a full-time NHL guy and maybe even going as far as being the actual starter. I think it's going to be a 1A, 1B situation, whether you keep Ronta or keep Anderson or you get somebody else. So that one I'm just going to kind of leave alone and let it play out because whatever I predict is probably going to be very wrong. So for the sake of looking at some of the pending UFAs for next season that Carolina could potentially try to get contracts for or move, we're going to talk about some of them right now. So considering Teravainen had a down year, I don't think Turbo's probably looking to make a deal right now. I think he's going to try and have a bounce back season so he can make some more money on his next deal. You can still use him on the power play. You can use him in special team situations. Him and Aho are really good together on the penalty kill, and that's also worth a lot. I also think that Jordan Martinook will be, unfortunately, leaving the Hurricanes at the end of next season, especially if he maintains the offensive production that he found this season, especially what he did in the playoffs. He had a down year before that, and he's kind of really come back from it really strong. He saw a lot of the stuff that people were saying about him online, and it motivated him in a good way, and he was definitely the most valuable forward the Hurricanes had in the second round against the Devils. So if he replicates that to a great degree, $1.8 million is not going to be enough for him, and I don't think he'll find that in Carolina, especially with some of the contracts that we'll have coming up that same season. I think that now Brady Skjei is going to end up being the odd man out, especially with him having a career year like he did. You can definitely trade him and get something for him, so I think that maybe at the draft or maybe sometime during the offseason he may go. But I think that if you're going to package him up, now is probably the time, so that way you can maybe try and add some scoring or add some physicality, because Waddell already said he wanted to get heavier if possible, and I definitely think that that's something that the Hurricanes really need to prioritize. All right, so now it's time to get into the big stuff here. Brady Skjei, Brett Pesce, so by extension Jalen Chatfield, and above all, Sebastian Aho. Okay, so let me start by saying Jalen Chatfield was probably the most impressive guy on the team this year, in my opinion. Chatfield is someone who I think you try to keep. His gap control is excellent. He's got really good stick work. He works really hard, especially down in the corners. You can probably get him to sign a pretty good deal. Is definitely going to get a raise whether he gets it with Carolina or not. I would be very surprised if he doesn't stay. He's the type of player that fits into the system absolutely perfectly. So here's something I had a change of heart on. Because of the aforementioned Jalen Chatfield, I kind of thought that maybe Brett Pesce would eventually be the odd man out when this time came. I'm rethinking that now. You need anchors on the blue line. You've got one-on-one pair already on the left side and a left-handed guy with Slavin, so you also need that on the other side on the other pair with Brett Pesce. Also, judging by his exit interview, he being Brett Pesce, he does not want to leave the Hurricanes. Even after the 4-goal sweep in Florida, he still seemed really enthusiastic. So here's the big one, and this is what's going to happen before any of the other ones. Sebastian Aho. It is well documented how important he is to this team, and I don't think it has the success that it's had over the last 5 seasons without him. My personal belief is that he will sign a $80 million contract for 8 years with an average annual value of $10 million. Aho's definitely going to get his own video because I want to be able to do some analytical comparisons with some of the other top centers in the league. So some of the basic details when it comes to Aho. The reason why I think Fishy is going to get a $10 million per year contract for 8 years, but here's the big ones. He has only had 2 seasons under 30 goals. His rookie season where he had 24, and his second one where he had 29, of which he missed several games with a concussion after getting hit by Mark Giordano, and he fell literally a crossbar short of 30. When this team needed a first-line center, they transitioned Aho off a wing to center. Brind'Amour taught him how to take face-offs, and he taught him an even better defensive side of the game. He's been nearly a point-per-game player on a defense-first team since his third season in the league. In fact, he's not a Selke candidate as criminal. One of the best 200-foot centers in the league. You can match him up with the best like McDavid, McKinnon, Matthews, and at a minimum he's going to mitigate how much damage they do to you, if not outright shut them down. And he'll still be a point-per-game producer in most cases. To me, he's like a modernized version of Rod Brind'Amour with an extra scoring touch. So just because he doesn't put up 100 points a season doesn't mean that he's not worth $10 million. But like I said, I got a video coming to explain that in detail. So that's all I got for tonight. I would like to apologize for the resolution and the lighting being kind of all over the place. Long story short, OBS crashed. I lost a lot of the stuff I recorded previously, and I kind of had to do it over again, including the settings I had for the camera. The good news is the next video will have significantly better lighting. The bad news is that means you'll be able to see my face more, and you'll realize that I'm actually a lot uglier than you initially thought. But you guys have a good one.